Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Jeff and Paper Gary. It is Saturday, July 25th, and the first episode upon my return from Oshkosh. So, lots to talk about there, lots to talk about today of what we're getting into and all kinds of things. So first I want to talk a little bit about what was supposed to be my last video before Oshkosh. I started recording, actually I captured a little bit of content, and I ended up throwing it all in the trash. So talk a little bit about our well-being, both our physical and mental well-being. The weekend before Oshkosh, so I was going to travel on Sunday, came in the garage on Saturday to get some work done, and I had gotten about 4 or 5 hours of sleep the night before. It was a pretty rough day, and I just was not mentally aware as I should, and everything that I seemed to want to do was a struggle. Trying to get those custom-made brackets work for a servo that wasn't supposed to work. More on that when we talk about our trip to Oshkosh and what we learned. But just like everything was kind of a struggle, and I was making mistakes and not able to think clearly, and so I made the choice to just stop working on that day. And I know that's a lost work day, right? There's lots of hours, that I could have gotten things done and buttoned up this elevator trim tab, but that's also a very high potential for breaking parts, putting work stop, or putting things on hold until I order new parts, or possibly even injuring myself, right? I have yet to drill through my finger, knock on wood. But anyway, I had to have that awareness to say, hey, it was not a good day to be in the garage making decisions and trying to build airplane parts and using tools. And so I put everything on the shelf and just scratched that up to a lost day, and we'll come back to it today. So remember that when I tell you to take care of yourselves and each other, recognize that, yeah, there are some days that we can kind of push through some minor things and work in the garage and make progress on our projects. But there are also some days that we need to have enough self-awareness to say, hey, I probably shouldn't be here trying to make decisions and make things work when everything else is telling me I should be taking a nap or relaxing or doing something else. So enough of that. Into Oshkosh. Wow, what an adventure. I'll start by saying it is entirely overwhelming. The bottom of both my feet are bruised from what I'm guessing is at least 10 miles a day of walking. And that's not much of an exaggeration, I don't think. I used to go to CES, Consumer Electronics Show, every year in Vegas, and used to count steps, and that was probably about 5 to 7 miles worth of walking every day. This was far more. So be prepared for that if that's on your adventure list to do. The other thing I will say is, and you've heard this before if you're watching any kind of aviation channels or talking about Oshkosh, it really is 700,000 of your closest friends. It was really neat to be in a place where people are like me, and they're passionate about airplanes like me, and you can sit down just about anywhere in Oshkosh or even outside at the restaurants or bars or wherever you're hanging out, and just say, hey, where are you from and what do you fly? And next thing you know, you've got a new friend. And I did that several times. So made a bunch of friends. Really want to shout out and thanks to famous Don and Paul and Alexander and Garrett, John, and a bunch of the other people that I met, Ian, and had such a great time. So it was really fantastic from that regard. From the airplane stuff, it's amazing how many conversations were interrupted because everybody went like this to go look at what was flying by, which happens all the time. But it was really great. The seminars were great that they offered there. I think one of my favorites was aerobatics for experimental aircraft, which was hosted by IAC, the International Aerobatics Convention, I think is not their name. I don't know. IAC, I'll have to look that one up. But it was great. Listened to some presentations by Vans, of course, and by Lycoming, and had a really, really great time. Even Dynon there had some really spectacular offerings for kind of an explanation of their systems and what is necessary for a single panel IFR, a single panel VFR versus a dual panel VFR or a dual panel IFR. And of course the introduction of their new GPS WAS enabled IFR navigator, which is all behind the glass for a Dynon panel, right? So nothing that takes up any more space on your instrument panel. It's all behind the scenes, which is really super cool. Also took a class for them on basic aircraft wiring, which was neat. And yeah, so it was a great time. Other than that, I did get a chance to meet and hang out with Tim from T-Flight-77 and Chris from That Hippie Pilot YouTube channels that I follow that I've mentioned before. And those two guys host a really awesome podcast called We Are Not Experts, an airplane building podcast. And it was great to meet those guys, get to know them a little better, chat and hang out with them. And I will say they're two very smart individuals, brilliant guys that are really kind of just looking outside the box of how things are done, right? Not accepting the way that we have traditionally built aircraft and gone about doing things. And they're both very innovative people that are coming up with great ideas to make airplane building better and easier and more logical and helpful, right? And that's their big thing. I think everything they do is extremely helpful to builders, both new and old. So it was great to see those guys and hang out with them a little bit. And yeah, so Oshkosh, here's kind of my determination that I figured out as I was there. If you like airplanes, you should go there for a day. If you really love airplanes, you should go there for 2 days. If all you do is think about airplanes, think about buying airplanes, flying, building airplanes, modifying airplanes, talking about airplanes, looking at airplanes, watching other people look and talk about airplanes, you should go there for the whole week. So it's a great time. I will say, for those of you that have never been there and kind of apprehensive, I flew commercially. So I flew commercial into Appleton. I hopped in Uber from, actually it was a Lyft from Appleton to Oshkosh. Checked into the dorms there. So if you don't know, you can rent the University of Wisconsin dorms. And they're very affordable. For a single, for myself, it was in a non-air conditioned dorm was $130 a night. And it's walking distance from a lot of great restaurants and bars and stuff. So you've got a little bit to do outside there. And they have a bus that picks you up right outside the dorm and takes you right to the gate pretty much at AirVenture. So super awesome and very convenient. I really liked it. Even though I did not have air conditioning, the weather this year was spectacular. So, Monday was a little warm, but after that it was, high 70s during the day and high 50s at night. So it cooled down and it was very comfortable in the dorms. Next year I will probably get an air conditioned dorm just to make sure, because if weather is not cooperative, then it could be pretty miserable. But overall, really great experience staying at the dorms. Really enjoyed that. And the bus that takes you back and forth runs like every 20 minutes. So very convenient, very easy. Other than that, I will say, bring the most comfortable shoes you can find. I took a backpack that had like a camelback in there so that I always had water. So hydrate a lot. Food choices are plentiful on the grounds. They have even a few places with vegan options, which was nice for myself. And it was really great. Other things that I'll point out, like while I was there, I bought the lifetime EAA membership. So this was kind of one of the things that I was thinking about doing and toying around with the idea. And you save $100 doing that at EAA AirVenture, and then they prorate the remainder of whatever subscription you've purchased. So I think a couple years ago, like 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I bought the 5-year membership. And so they gave me credit for, I think, 2 years and 11 months, which was cool. With that, you get access to the EAA Lifetime Member Oasis, which is a nice air-conditioned place there with free drinks. So all the free waters, sodas, Gatorades, iced teas that you can stomach, and free ice cream. And so that was kind of a nice place to go beat the heat a little bit and get in there, relax and chill for a while, and get a bunch of free drinks. I also splurged one day for a daily pass to the Aviators Club. Now there's an Aviators North and there's an Aviators South. I imagine both are kind of the same. Aviators North is a little bit more attractive, I guess, because of the less walking. So the north side of the runway area there is probably the more condensed area of vendors and the Lifetime Oasis and all those kind of things. Way on the south side of the field, you get into like the vintage aircraft and Aviator South Club. And so it was a little bit of a splurge, but it was really nice. They had a great lunch there. So kind of like, I don't want to say a buffet style, but kind of like a buffet style, very nice, with great food, grilled salmon, grilled chicken, and again, all the free drinks that you can drink and desserts and everything. Very nice air-conditioned place. I did kind of get the feeling that maybe I wasn't in the right tax bracket to hang out in there every day. But everybody was friendly there, regardless of my lack of collared shirt in my very expensive aircraft that I flew in on. It was a good thing, right? And so it was really nice to hang out there, get a break from, again, the heat, be able to watch the air show from inside, or even they had outside seating areas, which was pretty close to the flight line. So that was really cool as well. Other than that, I don't know what else I could say other than it was spectacular. I loved going. Great amount of vendors there, and so I got to learn a lot of things and see a lot of stuff about airplanes, parts, and some of my planning. I will say that one person or entity, if you will, that I was looking for that I did not see this year was Sky Designs. I reached out to Sky Designs while I was there, and apparently they had some kind of family things going on. They weren't able to make it this year, but they should be back next year. But that did not stop me from placing an order with Sky Designs. So we'll have an unboxing to do here in a couple weeks when those parts show up. Other than that, I don't think there was, there's a whole lot more to say. The air shows were spectacular. My favorite was the P-38. So there's a lot of stunt planes out there and a lot of extra 300s and biplanes that can do some really fast tight turn maneuvers and flips and rolls and all kinds of stuff. The P-38 is a pretty graceful aircraft, and the air show that they put on there with that aircraft was absolutely fabulous. Really enjoyed that. And after a week's worth of saturation, or nearly a week's worth of saturation of aircraft, I was leaving yesterday and thought, all I want to do is sit and watch more airplanes. So it was really great. If you've been apprehensive about going before, I absolutely suggest that you just bite the bullet and do it. Yeah, it is expensive. You're going to spend a lot of money, but it's totally worth it, and you're going to make great friends. I'm certain I made more friends in the last 5 days than I probably have in the last 5 years. So again, loved it, had a great time, and really looking forward to going back next year already. Okay, on with aircraft building. I've got some unboxing to do today. Picked up a tool that might help me a little bit here and now, but it's certainly going to help me in weeks to come, months to come when I start doing tanks and wings. And I need to finish up the elevator, right? So the remaining task on the elevator is the trim tab. And let's talk about the trim tab for a minute. I went to the Dynon website, who said Corgi servos are the way to go, and what I have found is that the Corgi servo that's supposed to match up with the part number that I have from I think it's a Ray Allen servo, is not compatible with the Van's aircraft. So if you guys have been watching, you've seen previous videos of where I've had to custom make brackets to get these things to fit. Dimensionally, the servos are the same, with the exception that the holes on the Corgi are moved inboard just a little bit because there's a slight recess in that servo the way it's made. And because of that, you can't use the factory supplied brackets with that Vans gives you. And that area for that thing to fit is so small that you have no room to build any brackets upside and around from there. If I were to manufacture brackets that would make that work, they would probably have to be 3D printed. And I don't think that 3D printed polymer material is something that I really want to trust to a trim tab servo, right? If that thing fails, that's a bad day. So ultimately what I'm going to do is get rid of the Corgi, which I spent a lot of money on, and Aircraft Spruce and Specialty is very clear that once you take that out of the box, that you can't return it. So I'm kind of stuck with this thing. I'll probably throw it up on a marketplace somewhere and try to sell it. But I'll be going back to the Ray Allen servo, which fits in there, and just get on with life and deal with it. So that's what I learned. That was a conversation I had with Dynon when I talked to them, and one of their guys flat out told me, he said, yeah, it's not going to work. Stop wasting your time trying to make it work. You are not going to make it fit. So kind of disappointing. Wish I'd have known that, or wish that was very clear. But my mistake, I guess, for not doing the research, or maybe my good for being the first person to go do that research and put some information out on it so that others don't make the same mistake. I think that's all there is to yap about. I know that's been a very long intro. So let's get on to airplane building and see what we learn. All right, for those of you that listened to that very long intro, thanks for sticking with me. For those of you that didn't, I won't judge you. What did we learn here? So we learned, as I described in the intro, the Corgi servo is just too big dimensionally. The flange itself is the same as the Ray Allen, but the box that's on there, right, the innards, if you will, the box is larger by a little bit, and then the holes are off. And so the factory supplied brackets don't work. Making custom brackets doesn't allow you a lot of room. Even with the Ray Allen servo, it was selected by Vans to go in this thing. It's a super, super tight fit. In fact, myself and others, right, have removed a little bit of material in that flange where the nut plates are in the elevator itself to make the corners of that servo drop in and install a lot easier, because it's a real struggle. And the bigger Corgi one is nigh impossible. It's just not going to work. So did some back and forth, made the brackets for those things, took them, and I forgot to move the camera, but I took them out to the paint shop, the paint booth outside there, and shot them with some primer so that we can assemble. But here in a minute, you'll see taking out the power supply and just checking the operation of it, make sure that it moves and it aligns the way it's supposed to. So I think we're going to be in good shape there. The next step of this was really around the trim tab. And what we learned about the trim tab. So if you remember, I did not fold the ends over as per the instructions. I cut them off, and I'm going to fill them in with composite material later on. And so I made some riblets to go in the ends there to kind of cap them off to facilitate the use of foam and composite material later. When I did that, I think I could have done better. So using the laser, and you saw the green laser light out there for a minute, this is me putting this back together, and I realized at one point in time that because I put those ribs in, I could not rivet the last pieces in there. And so I got a little out of sequence, had to take those out and rivet some things together and put them back in. And then try to get the hinge aligned on the elevator. So it's a pretty straightforward process. Put the hinge together, right, go put it into place. What's a little wonky is that, you know, you're trying to hold this all in place by yourself, one person, and drill a hole or two to get started to where you can start putting calicos in there, and then have some support there while you drill the rest of those. So I had the laser out there, got it all evened up, and what you're supposed to do is get that trailing edge of the elevator to match with the trim tab. So spoiler alert, right? As I work through this process, and you'll see this in the following video, I discovered in this whole thing that there is some twist. Once I got that in place and I drilled everything and put it all together, I put that level, as you saw there, as a straight edge along there, and I have about a ½ inch of twist in my elevator trim tab. And so I started taking it apart and trying to work that trim out of working the twist out of there, which the instructions tell you, like before you rivet those end caps on there, you can massage it and work some twist out of there. I just wasn't happy with it overall. I did work most of the twist out of there. I got it down to within like an eighth of an inch accuracy, but I had one side that was flat and the other side that was kind of curved. So if you remember, when you bend these things, you tune them up a little bit and hold a straight edge on there, and they should be flat. And they were not on one side. So ultimately, for the $30 that it cost me to get a new skin, I have another spar for the tab laying around. I went ahead and ordered the skin, and we're going to scrap this one and we'll make a new one later. So that's about it for this video. I'll turn it over to Live Action Jeff and let him do the outro. Thanks, everybody. Hey friends, we're going to wrap it up today. We're at a pretty good stopping point, and I'm at a spot where I know that I could greatly benefit from another set of hands to hold this trim tab in place while we mark it with the laser and the straight edge and all those things to make sure that it is following the trailing edge of this thing and on the edge lined up just as good as it can be. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the shop today and get on with the rest of my evening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Give me a thumbs up if you think it was decent or worthy of a thumbs up, and hope you come back and see us again next time. So until then, this is Jeff and Paper Gary out.